I'm Kelly Mitchell, and this is Breve TV Uncorked. Women, wine, and fabulousness, and another episode of Breve TV. I'd love to welcome to this show my partner in wine and crime, Deborah Trapin. Deborah, how are you?
I am fabulous today. How are you?
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you're fabulous. You always look amazing. And we are doing episode 83, Bullseye on Your Back, Water Cooler Chats Gone Wild, Gossip versus Growth or Success. We all strive for success, whether it be small feats of fab or incredible achievements in work and life. We constantly change goals, morph ourselves into different levels, and strive to stand out. Often our biggest challenge is that little voice in our heads. What about when that voice, though, is quieted by another louder voice at the water cooler when you're not there? Whether it's a coworker or another professional in your field or someone you used to consider a friend that speaks badly about you or creates problems, for a successful person, it never feels good. So we're going to talk today about coping with these situations, how to deal with them, and how to rise above from the bowl. Right? Since we're talking bullseye, we begin with a quote. People will always attempt to diminish you or your success if they are unsuccessful, jealous, or insecure. Keep that in perspective. Drama is best left to those who create it, who live for it, and who will ultimately fall on their own sword. That quote is courtesy of the Caffeinator. So, Deborah, we need to talk about what's in our glasses. What is in your fabulous glass, and what is our word today?
Well, I think our word should be maybe gossip.
Gossip. That sounds great. Okay. Word today is gossip. How many times have we said that so far?
So I'm gonna do some good gossiping about my wine, and I'm actually drinking a sparkling wine that's called Prosecco. It's by La Marca, and I was introduced to Prosecco on my very first trip to Italy. It is what the ladies drink as their pre-dinner, as their aperitif. This is delicious. It's actually it's a staple in our house. It's super light. It goes with just about anything that I put on the table, although I do love it with, and yes, I do eat this from time to time, fried chicken.
Fried chicken? Wait a second.
Right? So I have this really delicious
chicken. We have to get into the fried chicken. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let that one go.
So I have this awesome recipe that I got from a gal that I met like 10 years ago, and it's to make with cornflakes. It's like a cornflake fried chicken recipe.
I've heard of it.
It's not actually technically fried in a fryer. You bake it, but it tastes like and crunches like fried chicken, and it is delicious. And I'm telling you, champagne or sparkling wine with the delicious crunchy chicken is so good.
Okay, so you cannot do that to us and not give us a recipe. I am hoping you're going to share this on the blog post.
I will. Promise.
Awesome. Because if it's baked, then I might jump in and try that. That sounds fabulous. Okay, anything else on the wine?
That's it. La Marca Prosecco, delicious with fried chicken. Woo!
Woo! Love it. Love it. I have a 2011 Reserve Lot 21. And this wine is a Chardonnay. I absolutely adore it because it's from one of my favorite regions in all of Sonoma County, and that is the Russian River Valley. I absolutely love it. If you haven't been to the Russian River, you have to go. And you have to follow the Russian River until it intersects with the ocean, because at the very end of that trail is a restaurant called River's End. It is insanely outrageous. The food is fabulous. The views are amazing, and it's just an incredible spot. At any rate, so it's very light. It's not a heavy buttery. It's toasty oak, okay, not the buttery stuff. It's got, on the front side, it's got apricot notes as well as pear. I love that. And then a little hint of pineapple in the background. So with this, I would probably uh, eat it with a fabulous, maybe Parmesan truffled risotto.
Ooh.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Cheers to you and our conversation about gossip.
Absolutely.
So this conversation it's kind of on fire lately. It seems like there's a lot of conversations happening in our social circles about gossip and like women on women gossip, which is, boo.
Well,
So
we have like two levels of conversation that we could have. We could get completely wild with this and go down the direction of women not supporting each other. And I think that that's a whole nother conversation because that happens on so many different scales as well. But we really need to kind of get better at the good old girls club, which means support instead of tearing down.
right.
But in this conversation in particular, it is more about women on women. And since we are women on wine and we're talking gossip, we need to address what happens from friends, non-friends, coworkers. I mean, this stuff can happen anywhere. So maybe we should start with talking about, gosh, we could go from personal experiences to things that we've seen because we're seeing it happen, right around us in the community. And thank goodness this time around we are not in the fray. We are not the subjects of discussion, which happens on occasion.
Yes.
But it's like when you get too visible or you're doing something really well, people want to tear you down. So how do we cope with that stuff? What do? You hear like somebody talking about you or something like that, and the first thing you want to do is curl up in a ball and go fetal, right?
True. Until you remember that it does not matter what anyone else says. And I know that it sounds like, wouldn't it be in a perfect world, right?
Yes.
I think that you have to start there and then go to the people who do support you, whether it's a spouse or a best friend or a mentor, and have them speak the good word back into you, because most gossip comes from a place of insecurity, in my opinion. Somebody sees my success or my journey as though it's competing with theirs and it's overshadowing theirs somehow. So it's an insecurity issue. And remembering that it's not about you is one of the hardest things. Like, how do you pull yourself out of that, Kel? When somebody is saying something about you, how do you get to the point where you're like, I know it's not me, I know it's not me, I know it's not me?
I guess because I went through this personally, and it was really hard because my gut reaction is to go to their level, which is way down there, and I like to operate up here, So I think the first thing you have to do is pull the emotion out of it and like you said, really kind of get to the root of the matter and what's driving it, and understanding that it's insecurity, possibly an inferiority complex, also possibly a lack of success or direction in somebody's life. When you start understanding that, and then you also start understanding that, I don't think I'll ever know the exact message that was shared, but I know from what I heard through the grapevine, operator a couple of times, that what was described as happening actually was the furthest thing from the truth. A lot of assumptions had been made. So I think when you have situations like this, like getting everything out and talking it out is so important because you can avert this. But that's not really, we're talking about the people who were the victims of this kind of garbage, not the people who are instigating. So cautionary for people who ever feel like talking about people, but, we have this, like, it's almost like a disease, the gossip thing, because sometimes we all have this human nature aspect that can get caught up in it, right?
Sure. Well, and I think it's important to understand that there is an element of gossip, kind of a middle ground of gossip, that isn't negative, and there are studies that show how it actually creates social connection. Ooh, did you see that show, or did you hear so and so is going out with someone? That all kind of falls underneath gossip, but there's this layer where it becomes negative and somebody's talking negative. And so I think for me, the tip that I have for when people actually start gossiping to me,
yes,
is I have to take the higher ground in that and say, okay, so what else can we talk about? Small minds talk about people. Let's talk about something else. and find where I'm comfortable. Now, I am a bit of a sass, and I'm known to be a truth teller. So most of my friends know that I don't really beat around the bush. So if you are somebody who does tend to beat around the bush, or you're softer in nature sometimes, figure out what you're comfortable saying and practice it. Practice it with your husband when he starts talking about, somebody at his work. Practice it with your sister or your best friend when you're talking and saying, I'm really trying to figure out a way to combat when coworkers or colleagues are talking negatively about others. I'd like to try practicing with you. Because I think when we're comfortable responding in those situations,
yes,
stop it. Because I think that there are certain people who love to talk negatively about others, but I think for the most part, we just get caught up in it. And somebody just needs to poke us and say, stop! Like, let's do something productive. Who cares what she's doing? Who cares what he's doing?
Exactly. And I think from the standpoint of when you are the individual that's being talked about, you really have to make sure, A, that what's being said is really happening. I mean, sometimes you can hear it through the grapevine and it's, somebody made a mistake and it's not about you, or they turned things around because they didn't really understand what was going on. So I think clarifying the message potential is one aspect, but I don't want people to overreact, because truly, again, like, we're describing somebody or individuals who do this as somebody who has insecurity issues, who feels inferior, who their life isn't going very well. So getting upset is kind of like throwing, with gossip, Q, is throwing fuel to the fire. Tweet that. Do not overreact. Do not get upset with gossip. You add fuel to the fire.
So true. And I think that, we can go back to, one of the lessons we've learned many times is we can't control other people. So I think all we can do is control ourselves in those situations. And it takes two people to gossip. If you are the person that is listening, put a stop to it. Say, okay, that's what's going on with them. What's going on with you? Let's talk about you. Let's talk about how I can help you. Bring it back to them talking about what's going on in their lives. Because, again, if it's insecurity, you might be able to help elevate them, get them thinking, and empower them so that they step away from wanting to be the gossip queen and actually doing something. So, and that really does, that's worked for me. It doesn't always work, but it is one of the things that does work. You know what, if somebody consistently does that, I just walk away. Like, I refuse to be friends.
Well, you have to let go of those relationships because they're toxic. They're cancer. And what do we do with cancer? We either nuke or radiate the crap out of it, or we cut it out, right?
Right. It's so true. So true. So other ways that you can kind of, combat the gossip, right, is just being aware of yourself and how are you starting conversations. So if you're saying you're talking to somebody who's known to be a gossip, maybe asking them different types of questions. Tell me what's going on in your life instead of tell me what's going on, right?
Right.
Or being very conscious of it yourself. Again, you can control your voice, control your questions. And also, I find it very difficult for people to negatively gossip when you're being super positive. When you're smiling and you're sharing about the great things that are going on, it's really hard for them to keep digging a hole down that negative rabbit hole. So
yes,
being positive really helps for me too. That's another little tip.
And for me, that I tend to, again, with the understanding where they're coming from and knowing the problems that they're dealing with internally, I tend to ignore them. And I tend to, if I do feel like I need to talk about them, I only talk about them with those that I am closest to, and not in a way that it's going to get out and around, right? Because then you're fueling the fire again. So ignoring, part of the process of coping with it is to talk to somebody, but talking to somebody that is one that you trust and is not going to let how you feel out. It really kind of takes away that power that they have initially of spreading it.
That is so good. I love that. Because you're talking about, it's humans, like
Yes.
being nice to one another. It's so important that we do that, whether it's a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man. I actually read a study that says men actually gossip more, but what they gossip about is far less like kind of evil.
Yeah, it's not like stabbing you in the back
It's
sort of
not.
stuff, I think, with men. With women can be ruthless to each other. They can be absolutely ruthless and horrible. And it's just like, you know, we have to lift other up. And if we can't lift each other up, then silence is the road to take. So what if, Deborah, let's talk about like, okay, so we kind of talked about being laid back, clarifying truth on rumors or gossip. What if you decide to confront the people who are spreading it or sharing it, or the person that it originated with? What's kind of the best strategy for that?
Well, you know me, straight up, straight in, straight talk. And there are some people who won't pick up the phone. Like there are some people, and actually this is interesting because my husband actually had this experience in his life just recently where he had heard someone had done something, not necessarily gossiped, but kind of stepped out of where they should have been. And so he wanted to have a conversation about it to clarify what was said and, you know, the spirit in which it was, so that he could manage the kind of repercussions from the action. And the person, a man, would not call him back. It was just
What?
back and forth. He would not pick up the phone and call him back. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the strangest thing. I thought this only happened with women. And he's like,
No, that's like guilty as charged right there. Nothing says guilt more than the inability to communicate with somebody who's asking you questions about what you said.
right. And so sometimes you aren't going to necessarily get to the actual person who said it. Sometimes you might have to go to their best friend or to somebody that you both have in common that might be able to help you shed some light on it. However, that can be a very slippery slope. So be very careful in being true to what your intention is, which is understanding what was said so that you can clarify it and clear the air, right? So if you hear a mistruth, that you can say, I want to make sure that he or she understands what actually happened. Because what's interesting about most of these things, most of the chitter chatter that happens around the water cooler, is it's somebody looking at something through their lens, right? They're filtering what they perceive to be the situation and then spouting out that definition, right? And so if you can get to the heart of it, that's great. But sometimes you can't. And
But it's like, please stop assuming things without clarification, right? Like, don't assume something and go, you know what so-and-so did to me, but you never really talked that through. And so if you haven't talked something through, but you made assumptions based on things that you saw, and you never really got the clear story, then that's what gossip is. Gossip is made up stuff that we're conjuring up in our minds because of things that happen that we don't understand and we can't explain.
right, and that's beautiful. I love the term conjuring. That's so great. Well, I think that the interesting thing again about when somebody always has to be the person who's gossiping. So sometimes you're going to be the person gossiping.
I'm not going to be the person gossiping.
Yes, but sometimes you are, right? We all do it because it's not. We're not always doing it intentionally. So I think the other side of that is when you realize you did gossip and when you realize you did foul, apologize for it.
A what? A kitty dies?
What?
What did you say? A kitten dies when you gossip?
I said
Every time you gossip, a unicorn dies.
no. No, I wouldn't say either one of those things. But I'd say when you apologize, a beautiful kitty's born.
I like that. Okay, I didn't hear the context. I need to turn up my volume. My apologies. Obviously, I'm going unicorns and rainbows on you. Sorry about that. So, okay, so when you don't gossip or when you quell somebody else's desire to gossip, that's when a kitten is born. And don't we all want to see kittens be born in safe houses? where people take care of them. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it's so for me, I really just, I mean, I've seen a couple of things get out of control recently in circles that we travel in, and my heart breaks because, you know, on both sides I see people that I care about or cared about. And when it comes to a head and it just becomes like low blows and starts to get sleazy, then it's just like, oh my God. Then that's when the walls of your your tribe crumble, right?
Well, and one thing we haven't talked about, which is the 12,000 pound gorilla in the room, is social media, and how people think that, like, the water cooler can be a Facebook group, a conversation on social media. And it's amazing what people are willing to say with their fingers, typing on a keyboard, versus what they're willing to say to somebody to their face. They might call people out on something or talk negatively about somebody on social media and not realize, oh, that's everywhere. But at least when you're doing it over the physical water cooler, it's there. And somebody may or may not remember it. Versus putting it on social media and gossiping there really is, oh.
It's got legs. The gossip now has legs and can go viral, right?
Yes. Massively viral. Hey, Kel, I have an awful echo on the side.
You do? So do I.
It's coming from your side.
It's coming from my side. So I'm not getting an echo, but I'm actually getting you fading in and fading out. Are all your Google windows closed? And we can edit this out, so I'm not worried about this. Are your Google windows all closed?
Yes.
I had this yesterday. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out and come back, okay? Don't be scared. I'll be right back. Let's see if this works.
Well, so I've got a couple quotes that I'll share with all of you that I'm sure will be edited out later, but as long as it's going to sit and Kelly's going to hear this, some of my favorite quotes about gossip are, girls compete with each other, women empower each other. Stop the gossip. There's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other. Madeleine Albright said that one. And never let the odds keep you from doing what you know in your heart you were meant to do. And that's by Jackson Brown. Oh.
Are we talking gossip, darling?
I am. I'm sharing some of my favorite quotes about women and gossip, and you'll edit them out later, I'm sure.
How is the sound? Is it better?
I cannot hear the echo. Nope, it's perfect. Yay!
Okay, so let's talk about irony. I am on a Safari browser now.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Isn't that funny? Oh my God.
You and irony, you really love that. You love the wine and you love the irony of Google Hangouts on a Safari browser.
I do. I can't stand it. It's just like so fun. And so fun. Okay, where were we?
So I think we were kind of just brushing, kind of pulling it all together. And the one thing that I also want to just point out when it comes to gossip and when it comes to other people talking about you, sometimes there's a little element of truth in it. And so when sometimes you have wronged, and although them gossiping about you negatively isn't ideal, you would prefer for them to come to you, sometimes just slow down a little bit, try to not take it personally as far as the emotion that comes out that you want to defend yourself, and see if there's a lesson in there for you, because we all have opportunity to improve and to be better. And
Amen.
And so just be open to the learning. That would be my closing tip.
I love that. That's so well put. Now, how are we doing on time?
We are at your final tip, and then
my final tip. Okay. Always and forever protect your heart, protect your soul, remember who you are. Do not ever let the individual or individuals responsible make you into a jerk and act like them. So being positive, knowing who you are, knowing your truth, and keeping those close that support you and your message and your goodness is really important. The moment that you stoop to somebody else's level, then you've not done anything except for make them look better. That's my truth. Step away. Don't let other people do it to your friends. Don't let other people do it to acquaintances. Don't let other people drag down people you don't know unless you know the truth. And even then, what do you want to look like truly?
Right. Nobody really loves hanging out with a negative gossip because we all know that they do it about us. So
it's not sustainable. It's poison. Poison makes you die, right?
Poison.
It's just not sustainable.
Totally.
Okay. Is that a wrap?
That is a wrap, my dear. I think that was a good gossip session about gossip.
Woo! It was. And let's speak some positivity into people because this is, just tackling the subject is a little negative. So, I mean, truly, like, remember who you are. And even if people are talking bad about you, you know your truth. So live it, breathe it, and love it. And don't let anybody bring you down. You're better than that, and you deserve better.
Yep. When you know in your heart what you're meant to be, do not let anyone keep you from doing it. Amen, sister.
Amen. Heck to the yes. Heck to the yes. Okay, well, that's a wrap. I'm Kelly Mitchell for Breve TV and Deborah Trapin, my partner in wine and crime.